So that's when the question of age was injected into tonight's debate. And Steve Kornacki has been gathering on said facts.
And this campaign, this Democratic campaign, really is an interesting test of when it comes to age, some things we haven't really tested before. The three leading Democratic candidates, you saw Bernie Sanders there, Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, the top three in polling, all would be over 70 years old on Inauguration Day if they were sworn in as president. And two of them, if they served out their first term as president, Sanders and Biden, would be over 80 years old. This country's never had a president over 80 years old. So it's a question of how much is this on the mind of Democratic voters? What do they actually think of age as an issue? So some new polling data we can show you. It's not quite a national poll. This is from all the early states. It's about 18 different states. It's a pretty broad mix. So this is a pretty good poll here to look at on this question. So start with Elizabeth Warren. She would be 71 years old on Inauguration Day if she's sworn in. Democratic voters were asked, is that too old? How many said so? 4% said that Elizabeth Warren at 71 would be too old. OK, how about the next oldest Democratic candidate? That's Joe Biden, considerably older, 7 years older. He'd be 78 on Inauguration Day. Remember, the oldest president in history so far, Ronald Reagan, was a couple of weeks shy of 78 when he left office. Biden would come in at 78. How many Democrats say that is too old? Look at that number jumps to 28%, more than 1 out of 4. And then, of course, Bernie Sanders is older still, 79 years old on Inauguration Day, and coming off this heart attack. This poll was conducted after that. How many say that Bernie Sanders is too old? That number climbs all the way to 43%. Again, this is Democrats in the early states. Now, here's the interesting thing. If you look at Biden and you look at Sanders, where those numbers are high among Democrats, and take it a step further and you ask Democrats, what specifically is it about their age that gives you pause about them? This is sort of somewhat interesting. When it comes to Biden, the Democrats who say they do think he's too old, and they're asked, why is he too old? About 36% say because his age would make it too difficult for him to do the job. 54% say his age just makes him out of touch. 10% say, hey, he's just been in politics too long. How about for Bernie Sanders? Very different, actually. Very different reaction. Look at this. Too difficult to do the job. 82% who are worried about Bernie Sanders' age say that is their specific concern about his age. Only 10%, look, compared to 54, say they think he's out of touch. 8% say he's been in too long. So it's just a very interesting situation. Again, we don't have many races I can't think of a single race for president in either party where the three frontrunners were all over 70 years old. And you can see there's some very different attitudes among Democrats when it comes to those candidates in their ages.
Fascinating stuff, as always, Steve. Thank you for that. And Nicole, we've talked about this. It's a fine line between straight up ageism and the questions people are allowed to ask because we are the consumers here.
Yeah, look, I worked for a candidate